Hello, and welcome to a special sponsored episode of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. My guest today is Jack Tao, who is one of the sponsors of the show through Phemex. And I have a lot to thank to him because when I started researching hardware wallets and I wrote a three-part series of articles, I just felt like I could not get enough into depth with my research. And the fact that I was able to get sponsored to do my work without any kind of conditions and without worrying that somebody will tell me that it's too much and they're not going to publish it. I mean, this has been incredible. And for in order to express my gratefulness for the sponsorship, I'm going to do this special interview where we get to talk about what Phemex is and why it's important to manage your keys properly, and why new players who are exchanges in the space actually matter and bring something new to this whole offer and diverse offering. So, Mr. Tao, it's really good to have you.
Thanks, Vlad. It's a great honor to be on your show.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, we haven't spoken until now.
Yes, I think you were talking up with Cecilia and Max a lot, both of them that we communicate with each other. We talk about you as well. For Femex, just as you mentioned, we're a young startup. We're really looking forward to the business partners who share the same values, and glad like we find you.
Yeah, I'm also glad, it's not always that you get to do your research without actually worrying about conditions. There are always, other conditions attached to stuff, and the way that you handled it, the fact that we speak right now for the first time says a lot about the way
Yeah,
you
we are
sponsor.
always, yeah, that's true. We are always searching for mutual benefits. It's not always like one company wins, the other lose. For the modern world, it's always we need to think about both sides. Win-win is the best situation, and is always the solution that we try to find out.
Okay. So before I ask you about yourself, please just answer this simple question. What is Femex?
Uh, the name is from goddess Femi, and plus mercantile exchange. So we want to build an exchange to be trustworthy, um, and in and has great reputation. So that's our eventual goal.
Okay, so it's an exchange whose name is inspired by goddess Femi.
Yes.
And by the looks of it, it looks a lot like BitMEX, but also has some extra features.
Yeah, there's a lot of exchange. Nate has Max on that. We thought about the different names like C Max, but it looks too close to CME exchange.
Oh, yeah. So, what about you? You used to work for Morgan Stanley, you had a very successful career on Wall Street, and suddenly you decided to get into Bitcoin. And, the question is why?
Yeah, it may look like it's a sudden decision, but it actually took about 2 years. So my friend and I started looking into blockchain, Bitcoin around the end of 2016, and I really start to read the white paper to understand the blockchain and early 2017. And right after that, the price go to like a right on rocket ship, and it definitely instantly got my attention. And I do love blockchain. And I love the idea that the first white paper issued by Satoshi, and this is as my personal experience that I work in the financial world and for 11 years, and when there's a technique like blockchain can help people transfer values over internet instantly and safely. And this is it is naturally that for me that's I believe there's some business I can build on top of that. So my partners we start talking about the business ideas over the 2 years, And in 2019, we finally got the opportunity, and we formed the team quickly. And that's the time that I decided to quit my job. It's not an easy discussion. So family sacrifice a lot. It's a big change for myself, and I really appreciate my family that I got full support from them, and things is going very well since then, and no regrets, and always keep looking forward.
Oh, yeah. And I guess this space, the Bitcoin space, has quite a few examples of people who went from Wall Street to Bitcoin. And one of the most prominent one is maybe Tone Vays. I think he also worked for Morgan Stanley at some point.
I never met him. Probably we don't have much overlap. It's a big firm, I was hired in Shanghai, and I relocated to headquarters in New York in 2006, 2012, and that's 10,000 people. So there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be difficult to know every employee who was there around the time. But why do you think that Bitcoin is special and unique in this world of finance and, word pursuing and having as the central element of a business?
Yeah, digital currency is not a new thing. That especially in the game industry, there are a lot of like online game. They have their own currency. You can virtual currency. You can buy stuff in their game. And there was a topic like 20 years ago when I started to play game. People are talking about like, hey, can we have like some virtual currency? And that's a cool idea, right? But there's no technique can support this idea. So, and there's another game called Second Life. Lots of companies, including IBM, put a lot of resource into this game to build virtual assets, and you can trade in it. So it's this idea is keeping being developed for many years. And suddenly in 2008, and Satoshi-san has this great idea and combined a lot of different techniques and technology to build this blockchain, and and it's globalized, right? It's not a centralized or decentralized. So there's have a lot of good features to suddenly make transfer value over the internet to be very safe and secure. And this is amazing, I think, because the central bank cannot do that. And transfer money overseas takes a long time, charges a lot, and your money could bounce be back for no reason and wait for another year. I have so many experiences since I have traveled a lot, and it didn't make sense for you that you can send messages informations instantly, right? People has needs to send values instantly as well, just like the commercial of Libra, right? The goal is that people can do things quicker to run their business, transfer values quicker, and I think that blockchain really give us a chance.
Yeah, I guess it's also due to the limitations of the legacy financial system because you have settlements that only take place from 9 to 5, and sometimes they don't work on weekends, and you have to wait until Monday to get the confirmation from your bank, and there are verifications. And also, a problem that I have with online banking is that there is no fungibility of money. If I pay to somebody a $10 bill, they're not going to look for traces to see to whom it belonged because, it's money. I just got it from somebody. Maybe it was part of my pay. Maybe I found it in the street. It doesn't matter. But with online payments, they have to check where you got the money from. And if by accident you get associated with some sort of criminal activity, they will freeze your bank account and investigate you and stuff like that, even though you're totally innocent.
That's true. That's true. There are lots of false positives in the bank system, right? People use PayPal. People use any bank. They will have this problem. I personally got a lot of issues with bank. I used HSBC. I totally disappointed, and that it is surprisingly you see that. the financial system is so old and cannot satisfy the basic modern needs for people, right? And it's surprising all the system that are dealing with in financial world is super old. Either people scared to make change, or they have to go through a lot of regulations to make the change to, so innovation totally like blocked in in the financial world right now.
Yeah, and sometimes banks stand in, in the way of innovation. Like they ban your bank account if they find Bitcoin activity, and this is going in several places around the world. Did
Yeah.
you don't have to answer to this directly, but did you ever have any problems with banks because you're running a Bitcoin exchange?
So far, no. I don't have any issues. I report IS to my tax return in North America regularly, and I don't have any problem so far.
Yeah, I guess you're a lucky case. I have friends who told me that their
Yeah.
banks just shut their accounts because they said they
Oh,
found.
yeah. There are some banks they do that. Yeah, it's true. So if you have associated with Coinbase, I heard some bank actually blocks you and close your close your account and say we are not going to do business with you, something like that. It did happen with some small banks. They have a different thoughts about cryptos. That's yeah, that's quite sad. So I was like in 2017. All my friends is doing. In 2017 is a great year for everyone. So we're doing our tax return next year. So that's lots of discussion like how to do this properly, and it's everything. Everyone is looking into the regulation. There's no clear rule, and or the tool is not good enough, not friendly uh, to taxpayer, and but now it's getting much better actually.
I hope so. So, my next question for you has to do with the similarity in terms of visual user interface that you observe between Phemex and BitMEX. And what would you say are the differences? And by now, I can answer partially and say that Phemex doesn't list as many shitcoins as BitMEX and most likely doesn't have as much wash trading. But what other kind of differences do you have to tell apart the two platforms?
So there's some lots of design in the background are totally different. Like we have a separate wallet system and a trading account. That's a kind of mimic to the traditional world that exchange only take care of the trading part, right? They shouldn't touch the client's money. So usually that if you go to a brokerage for trading some stocks, you will have open a bank account, put your money there, and open a brokerage account and authorize the settlement between your broker account and the bank account. So the broker will not touch your money unless they have a transaction records report to the bank. So we believe that that could be the future, but not necessary to be the bank holding your funds. Maybe some third party trustworthy party that people or blockchain that people can settle in real time to hold to have your fund safely outside of the exchange system. So we there's no such system yet, but we designed it in this way that to have your wallet and your trading account separate. So to be prepared for the future change, future for this idea. And for the products, as you mentioned, we list all the contracts extremely carefully. We picked. We first do the poll to ask our community what's their favorite, and we do our research. And we don't put any shit coins. We also want to put some legit uh, products on our platform to protect our clients. You know, some trader maybe have different idea. They don't care about the shit coins as long as they can short. They want to buy or they want to short. It's all trading for them. But for the long run, for an exchange, that we have to be careful. we don't want to list some coins we don't understand, or it's kind of a scam, and it's gonna hurt our reputation. And the reputation takes years to be built. So that's why we will be very cautious about that.
Yeah, I
And
like the way this sounds.
yeah, and also the UI, and the UI is totally different design. The color scheme and the dark mode is all branded designed. So the design company will hire they help design one of the biggest commercial bank in Asia. So that's the same company designed their GUI, and you can see our GUI is so different. It's called the borderless. So there's no border between the gadget in this window. It's kind of unique and different. For we get mixed feedback. Someone don't like it at the beginning, but they start like it, and someone love it instantly. So, but so far so good, and we'll keep improving it, because we know that for a product to serve people, the best way to serve people is keep improve.
Yeah, I agree. And just for clarification, you mentioned that you separate user accounts from the exchange. So does this mean that users can use non-custodial wallets to trade on the exchange so that they hold their own private keys?
That could be a solution, as I mentioned. So if, let's say, if there's a blockchain that is fast enough to settle in real time, it could be a solution, right? Or there's some non-profit third party can provide a service, or multiple third parties can provide a service to protect users' wallet with backup with some enough insurance. That's also could be a solution. So I don't know the answer yet, but we believe that's the goal. That we want to keep users' money safe. All the wallet money is in our cold wallet system, right? And the trading account is not the real money, that but they settled between each other.
All right. So I know that the catchphrase for Phemex is trade simple, but when I set up the account, it's not as simple unless you're used to BitMEX. So it's not like Coinbase, it's more like Coinbase Pro. So what do you think is simple right now about trading on Phemex, and what will get further simplified along the process?
Yes, simplicity is the key to most products in the modern world. Users well trained by the iPhone, right? Apple's philosophy for build products is they're chasing for simplicity, and that's true. And that's a long way to go. As you mentioned, that the sign-in progress is not as simple as you may expect it. It's it could be a balance, because we have to balance between the simplicity and the security. You have to go through some verification, simple verification, like you verify your email with we send an email code to your email, and you have to move a small picture to make sure you're a real person, and that behavioral check. So this is something that we have to had for the simplicity. But the idea is that as long as you have an email account, and you can trade the crypto assets, right? And the idea is that we're not just for the crypto assets. We're going to provide traditional commodity assets. So for crypto holders, they have a venue to invest different products for their portfolio. So we want to build a product that provide this kind of idea in a very simple way.
All right. So I remember that a couple of months ago, I also shared this event, and I'm not sure if it's still on, if people have managed to find the secret, but you have launched a contest which challenged your Twitter followers to find the secret private key in a portrait of Satoshi Nakamoto. And
Yes,
you have released some clues, and users got them via email, and they were also published on Twitter. And right now, as we record this, is the contest still on? Have people figured out how to get the 2.1 BTC?
it is still on, and we are waiting for the winner, and hopefully he or she can figure it out. So the purpose is it's just one stone two birds, and we do want to promote our brand, and we want to present the team. And we are not a boring team. We're not like always suited up, always talking about those political words people, right? We're technical people, and we have great we have great ideas and innovative ideas. So that's why we designed this puzzle that to the people. And the other thing is we want to introduce lots of basic cryptos ideas and the fundamental techniques to the maths. So what the people will say, hey, there's a rewards, and they may spend time to look into that to understand what is wallet, right? How wallet works, how transaction works, and in our Telegram group, a lot of people start to look into that, ask questions. And it's lucky that we also find another group of people able to share their knowledges. Some people create a GitHub to promote all the ideas and all the things he has tried, even code they share to the community, and they keep discussing this. This is amazing. And I got so many people, like a person PM me and saying, "Hey Jack, I have been learning so many things about this, and thank you so much. And can you give me another hint?" I say thank you, but I can't. It's great, and we do made a lot of friends, and our community get grow really fast. And that's the thing we really want to look into that. That's the thing we're looking for, right? And the more people understand the cryptos, understand those fundamentals, I think that helps the industry for the long run.
Yeah. And just for the record, if you're listening to this and you're on Twitter, you should go on the Phemex page and look for that portrait of Dorian Nakamoto and look for the clues. And possibly you can find the secret to unlock 2.1 BTC.
Yes. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, I have spent some hours on that one. I was not able to figure it out, but maybe you're smarter.
So Max designed this, and if it cause like make you sleepless and get frustrated, and you know who to find out, right?
Yeah. So during your sponsorship of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast, I have spoken with Max, and a few times he mentioned a white paper, but it's not a white paper for a new coin or something, or for a token like exchanges sometimes issue, but it's about a project white paper, like a white paper for the entire exchange. What is this about, and where can people read it?
Yeah, it's not a real white paper. And usually, white paper talk about the products. It's more like a technical yellow paper. And the thing is that it's different. That lots of exchange they issue the coins and try to promote that. And so we think that without a exchange coin doesn't determine a successful exchange, right? So we can explore the idea, but it's I don't we don't think that's as necessary. And the idea is to review the technology, is to share knowledge, right? For the open source is a great project, right? So thousand people share their ideas, share their code, share their hard works on GitHub, and it truly improves. It truly improves that the whole technology technology world. And Overstack is one of my favorite website, and all my team, especially for the IT guys, they check out Overstack website to find the solutions that bother them all the time, right? So we truly believe that giving back to the community is very important, and that's one of our core values. Our core values is like climb first, improve every day, help each other, and giving back, right? We are looking for that. What's the value we can give it to this community, and we find out, hey, why not just to review our core architecture, right? Lots of tier one exchange they have a different they have issues even lately, right? Even if running for years, they still have capacity issues, technical issues. Those are all hard problems, right? Even people know that's going to happen, they'll try to protect it, it still happens. So that's why we want to say, hey, this is our solution, right? So my team, we have a lot of team members from Morgan Stanley, and we built this for many years. My personally, I deal with like dozens of exchange. My team connect to almost a global financial exchange in the world, and we know that how they build the system. And myself is building the trading engines, and so we directly connect to the exchange a lot. So we have a good solution, and we know that solutions can be universal. So no matter you want to build a coin to coin exchange, or you want to build cryptos exchange, you can have the same idea, right? Our products are also simple, right? All the components is right from scratch. We like this open source, but for the performance and the security purpose, we write our own code, and that's we're very confident to share this because it's working. We not even review this paper to talk about our core tech architecture, so experienced users they can build their own, and we think more and more people devoted themselves into this industry, they can provide a better product to the customers. And we also provide a live demo in our YouTube. It's reviewed on YouTube that it shows that we can simulate a high trading volume in our testnet, and still allow the people to send order and get instant response. So that's to prove that we have enough velocity and the capacity. This paper is real, and that's a gift that we hope people can learn from that and build cool products on that.
Yeah. So this yellow paper or white paper is all about specifying the values of Phemex and what you're all about, right?
Yes. One, it's a core part of the Phemex, and also that to make a company exchange successful, technology is not the only thing. We have amazing business team, and we have a lot of business partners, and they are also one of the most important reasons that Phemex can be working so far so good for now, right? So there's a lot of facts, but the core we have spent like almost 6 months to build it, and we are very confident, and we truly believe this can help some exchange. You can solve their long going performance issues. Some exchange using some techniques. We know all those techniques they are using. They maybe have different background. That's not the technique I will choose to build exchange or trading system, right? So they because they have a bit different technical background, and they choose this way in the early stage, and they build a lot of business on top of that. It becomes so hard for them to switch to a new platform, right? But eventually, I think if they hit the ceiling of their performance, they have to do so, right? Once they're looking for the solution, I hope that our white paper can help them.
Yeah. So speaking of this, how does Phemex scale? Because I know that BitMEX has some issues when there are lots of users and there's a lot of trading and they see delays, they cannot enter their accounts and stuff like that. And lots of exchanges. I think that Robinhood is the most recent one in the United States to have problems with too many users trying to access the platform. And this meant that a lot of people actually lost money because they were not able to trade when they wanted.
Yes. So scalability is always a challenge. I can't say Phemex system is the perfect and is a silver bullet can solve all the problems, because it's a very complex system, right? You could have your cross engine, and you have your trading system. You may need to think about your disaster recovery, and then you have some services providing like user registration and those other activities. And the best practice, as we mentioned, is that you have to have a way to sharding to avoid a single point failure, right? And for training system actually is relatively easier, because if you have a thousand like a Binance, you have 1,000 coins listed. You could have a multiple different match engine. Each match engine or cross engine, they can deal with a subset of set of assets to trade, and so you can horizontally scale your system, right? Not just to scale your core system, you also need to scale your database. Your database you cannot use like one single database to hold, to store or write to read all the users' data. You have to scale that as well, right? Like just like a Google, right? Imagine I don't know what's the last time Google system uh, was crashed. I think actually last year they have the issue once a day, but they did a good job. So there's always a problem. There's always a solution, and for those companies, because lots of companies they start growing from 2016, right? And this industry is still new. I'm not surprised that they're not picking the best technology to solve the skill problem, right? That's why we think our team has a great advantage, that we know those problems, and we know those risks, and we build a new system, try to avoid in our best effort. That's and that's the advantage for our team.
Yeah. So let's say that I am a small investor. I have like $500 and I want to invest them in Bitcoin. And why should I use Phemex as the platform?
So first, for small investors, I would say that to use leverage and a derivative exchange, and you have to be caution, right? And it's relatively risky compares to you use $500 to buy Bitcoin directly if you truly believe it's in Bitcoin, right? But the thing is, it's in a little bit different now because there are so many influencers, so many TAs. They share those basics, how to trade in YouTube in different multiple channels, and we will see more and more investors, even for retail investors, they know how to use those products, right? We see a lot of users they come in and they can trade it very professionally, and also made a lot of profits. So that's the thing that to use our product, you need to pick up some basic knowledge. And the good thing about the derivatives trading platform had couple facts. One is that we provide a higher leverage. Even it's risky, we have power, but it can minimize your capital requirement to invest even uh, big portfolio. That's one advantage. And the other thing is that for from different from traditional exchange, usually for the commercial derivative exchange, that each contract is huge. So it's not designed for small investors, right? Even they understand this, even they have good knowledge, but they have to go through a lot of a process to make sure they have a lot of capital to back up to invest that. But for cryptos, all the contracts are designed to be able to trade by smaller players, right? This is make it so convenient, and it's a new thing for the users. And also the exchange for cryptos, most exchange open seven 7 days a week. So non-stop exchange. Not many exchange or bank system provide such kind of service. It's seamless service. It's a new in crypto world. I really like it. That's the new way that financial should be run, right? Non-stop. People, there's no Sunday, no Saturday. People can trade seamlessly and instantly.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you basically said that when trading on Phemex, it's better to be a large retail investor. But what about the small ones? Like, I think there are thousands of small investors who would be potentially be interested in investing some money into Bitcoin and possibly use Phemex. So, is it more difficult for them, or can they do it without the high risk given by leverage?
Maybe I didn't state it correctly. What I mean is, Phemex, the products is designed for the small retailers. Small, big doesn't matter because each contract is very small. So it's small enough for users with little capital to invest.
So I'm very happy that I asked the question once again because this answer is a lot clearer.
Yeah, so, sorry I didn't make it clear enough.
Yeah, maybe it's my fault, but the clarification is always good.
Yeah. So it's different like a CME. Like I don't know how hard I try to, but you have to have at least a lot of capital to open an account. You have to uh, go through some process to open account, and then you find out if you want to buy the gold product, gold contract, you have to buy it a lot, right? The capital requirement is huge. They're mainly focused on for the institutional client. But for crypto world, no, we are serving for everyone, everyone, no matter small, big, especially for smaller investors, right? Small, especially for smaller investors, you only have a couple $100 in your pocket. You don't have a much choice for investment, right? You cannot buy any major products as free as bigger players. So that's a problem, right? People should have an easier way and a secure way to trade everything they want.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, the stock market is kind of a very closed, ecosystem where you have to get to a broker, and you have to pay fees for brokerage, and if you want to buy government bonds and stuff like that, it's even more difficult because there
That's
are
true. Yeah,
regulations
that's
in
true.
place that don't allow you to invest unless you have a certain amount or unless you have some kind of institutional credentials. And, you know, the regular person might be interested, maybe not in government bonds, but in stuff that is a good investment.
Cool. I like you like it.
So, in season 4 of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast, I have spoken pretty much about hardware wallets. This has been the central, theme that has been going around. And do you have any kind of preference in regards to these devices? What kind of hardware wallet do you use, if you use any? And do you think that when Phemex users decide to withdraw their coins, their Bitcoins to their own wallets, do you recommend them to use a hardware wallet?
I don't have a strong preference. My personal life, we use mixed way. I have some portion in Ledger, and some is just on my computer called wallet. I manage my own key, my own way. Um, it's uh, it's hard to say. I think that diversify is definitely important, and you have to put your investment separately. Don't put everything in one wallet. That's kind of dangerous. And you can every 3 months you can move around to make sure that you still remember the password. And on the other hand, that if you keep all the cryptos in your own computers, it's kind of also risky. So use some hardware, and it's also a balance. I have some money putting some online wallet system just for convenience. I have some on the cold wallet system, and have some money on the exchange as well. So I feel comfortable that I don't worry that all of them will lost at the same time.
Yeah, it's a bad idea to put all your eggs in one basket. I think that's a very popular idiom on Wall Street.
Yes,
And it's also
indeed.
applicable to security. You don't want to rely on one party to secure all of your coins.
Yeah, I remember in 2017 that there's some online wallet system. They actually secretly store your private key. There are lots of scams, right? And so that's the risk could happen. But I personally I believe that. lots of companies they won't do that, and that's hurt their reputation. And they spend time to build a product, they're still cheating people. I don't think that that should be a minority, not a majority. I do see a lot of companies doing great products, and I think that's the trend. So more and more good players, less and less bad players.
Yeah. And something that I want to ask you more specifically revolves to kind of a trend in the Bitcoin space. You see people buying on Cash App, or I don't know which service is popular nowadays, but it involves people buying Bitcoin with their fiat, with their credit card usually, and moving the Bitcoins into their own wallets. And does Phemex include this type of service, or is it planning to enable a simple way to buy Bitcoins instantly?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're just looking into that. We actually already we discussed a couple weeks ago internally, and we actually start working on that. So that's also for the same idea, simplicity, right? So lots of users. Even we probably have more than 50 million users globally. I'm aiming for the cryptos, right? And but still, for the majority, they never have any cryptos. So use a credit card, use cash to buy their first Bitcoin is the most way, I think. Some people may purchase from their friends or from some OTC markets. I believe so, but I will see that lots of people is buying through credit cards, and that's the first step to entering this crypto world. So definitely, so we are talking some partners that we are connecting their system. We try to provide this service to make it easier to deposit and cash out. So that's something that we should see very soon in production.
How do you want Bitcoiners to think of Phemex? Like when they hear the word Phemex, what should they associate it with? An idea, concept? Is it about trading simple, or is it about buying Bitcoins in the simplest way possible?
We mainly focus on trading, not specifically for buying Bitcoin. Even to enable coin to coin purchase or fiat to current purchase is our roadmap. But we are mainly focused on the financial service. So we provide trading service, and in future we'll provide more and more features for people to invest in the crypto world. So it's um, the thing is that we are building a service on top of a blockchain.
Right. So, another question that I have for you, and this is very concerning for a lot of people who deal with exchanges, and it's about KYC AML measures and all this process in which you sign up with your passport and you type in all of your private data. And does Femex require any of that? And for which operations?
We don't enforce the KYC right now, but we do that. We do talking to regulator and the local government because we're serving lots of different countries, and lots of country is developing those regulations to try to help their citizen. And to provide a service, sometimes in some locations we have to require this, and it could be optional, not mandatory. And though these things in the crypto world, the government doesn't have a clear regulation yet. It's kind of a bothering a lot of people, and so we have to see how these things going on, and we don't want to give up the freedom for the users, right, to fully control their money without a scrutiny. And but we also want to help to detect bad behaviors. So government is not the only solution. Regulation is not the only solution, as I can see. So a lot of companies they are able to chase the blockchain records to isolate those bad accounts who steal money from other play on the exchange, so other users, right? This could be a solution for money laundering, for scam filtering, right? So that's something we want to see, and we're hoping that technology can solve those legacy problems in a much better way.
Yes, and this is a huge problem because we have seen examples with Binance leaking user data and they were blackmailed by a hacker. And it wasn't their bitcoins that got hacked. So it wasn't about having private keys stolen, it was about their database, which contained user data and usually pictures of users holding their passports to prove their identity. And it's terrible when this kind of stuff gets leaked on the internet and you have no idea where it can end up and what kind of criminals can use that kind of private data. So sometimes the best security for information on the internet is to not publish it on the internet because the more sources have it, the more likely it is for it to get stolen and get replicated somewhere else and used in malevolent operations.
Yeah, yeah. The convenience and the privacy and the secure is always has some conflicts. Have some conflicts. You know, some countries they have an amazing electronical uh, system to transfer monies through using. They have electronic payment system that doing very well, but users give up a lot of privacy and personal data to the service, right? And the blockchain is different, so you don't have to. You don't have to. I truly believe this technology, and I see lots of invest money put into this technology, try to improve it. I think maybe in 5 or maybe less years, and we may have some big breakthrough on those hard questions. So and also that it could be in another way, like if one exchange got the money stolen by some wallets, they can identify those wallet system and prove them they are the bad wallet. And if all the exchange in the world and can abandon them, so they have no way for them to it make it them very hard to cash out. That could also be a one solution. And I don't know. So that's still a big problem in this the scam and those security cybersecurity problem is still a big problem here. And but on the bright side, I think that it trains those services, those exchange to be more and more robust. And like Binance have this safe insurance to protect users' money. That's also a solution, right? In case that users' money cannot be covered.
Yes, but their insurance only covers fiat. So the users are not going to get their bitcoins back. They will just get some US dollars or whatever. And maybe
Yeah, true. It's not perfect. I understand that it's not perfect.
at some point in the future, maybe that there will not be enough bitcoins being sold on the free market to cover all the losses.
Right, that's another problem. Yeah, supplying. So that's why halving is so important to this industry, and it create a lot of price movement up and down this year. And yeah, it's a big problem. So I don't have good answers, and I hope that the community can solve the problems. And it's a diversified world. Everyone have a different opinion. You can see how hard to have a Bitcoin blockchain upgraded. Right now, they have the Bitcoin Cash and BSV, BCH, ABC. Right, so this are the results of those conflict interests. And that's the reality of a true decentralized platform, right? So in my opinion that at least for 5-10 years, and the centralized service and the decentralized app will coexist and help each other, right? They both have pros and cons, and but I believe that to utilize the advantages of either side, both sides will provide a better platform.
I agree to some extent. I mean, every experiment with Bitcoin is a step forward unless we discover something new and make some kind of breakthrough. At least we learn a social lesson about what we shouldn't do to the real Bitcoin so that it remains a powerful actor in the financial space. And I was
Yeah,
about to ask you about Phemex, and the fact that you have no KYC is quite endearing to some extent. And it's a relief from all of the situation that you have, for example, in the United States, where politicians have regulated Bitcoin, but they have regulated it without actually understanding how it works. And in many cases, you see the IRS guidelines for reporting your taxes. They even have to report airdrops that can be generated out of nothing. And anyone can
yeah,
make an airdrop to compromise your tax files. So they don't really understand the dynamics of this. And
yeah.
I guess the best approach
That's true.
in many
Mhm.
jurisdictions is to just wait to see where this is leading.
Exactly, I totally agree that for for those political men that the easiest way for them is add more regulation, right? Just to just don't do that. So I don't have to worry about it. I just forbid everything and to make your life harder. That's the killer to the innovation, right? That's the thing. That's the least thing we want to see. Right? We want we want to have some space to grow. Everyone in this industry, right? I truly believe technology can solve a lot of problems in a much better way, right? Throwing a bunch of regulation to make to make the startups or the researcher lives harder doesn't help. And also, you still have the other problems, and they are breaking, right? Like in the Wall Street, there are so many regulation, and the consequence is that it kills the small companies, and because the companies simply cannot pay, don't have enough fund or enough money to cover those compliance and the regulation, the lawsuits, because there are so many different regulations, and that's the biggest cost. And there's no startups in the financial world for many years. Robinhood is a specialty, right? And but if you look in other companies, there's no much innovations in this space because of the regulation, right? People keep adding regulate. If I develop a software in Morgan Stanley, it has to go through thousands of paperwork to have my compliance approved, have our legal team approved. The lawyer will document this correctly and report to SEC. And a month back, they will say, okay, this is good or this is not. And how you run the business like that, it make the situation even worse. The bigger and the bigger, right? Like JP Morgan is the biggest bank in the world because he can acquire a lot of smaller ones who cannot afford those operational costs to deal with those regulation, right? So the old system totally is breaking, right? The blockchain definitely give us a chance to rebuild a new financial system in a global space in a much better way.
Yeah, and I guess this is also why the big companies are the first ones that ask for regulations, while the small actors are more in favor of just waiting to see where this is heading. Because basically, if you're Coinbase right now, and you ask for greater regulations, you can pay for all of the compliances and you can afford to have personal staff to handle user data and to do all that KYC AML stuff. Whereas a small company, a startup, is not able to hire more people to do all that kind of stuff just to be in business and be allowed to operate within that jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's true. And you see how much Coinbase charges you for buying a Bitcoin. They charge a lot, right? That's not the spirit that everything should be simple and it should be inexpensive to retail users. And does it make sense that you build another iPhone, charge you like thousands money to buy one product? I think in the future, the transfer values cost should be much lower, right? That's a trend. That's the thing I don't like Coinbase because they simply charge too much.
And they're not even the only ones. And as this space converges through maybe to a few actors who are the biggest ones and they have a lot of authority, I guess they will also be the first ones to spearhead this type of compliance and try to make it harder for everybody else to step in and provide similar services.
Yeah, they basically want to be the only one to provide services. They just that I don't think that's kind of an old way. Maybe 20 years ago, ever think about that. But now, when you build a business, you have to face the competition. You have to polish your product. That's the way to go. You have to lower the fees for the customers. That's the right way to do, right? Not just try to help to build a bunch of regulation to make you unique. I don't think that's the long term plan.
Yes, and this is why I
That's the
still
way.
love this space because there is a lot of room for innovation. And anytime a small player can just step in and provide the best services and just overthrow the whole system of elites, to say so.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's why you also step down from your position at Morgan Stanley because you can be on the side of innovation as opposed to preserving something that no longer serves the needs of the average person.
I'm super excited every day. It's definitely a good choice for me, and I want to build my own business. I always want to do realize my own value and dream all the time. My partners they do the same, and this opportunity is really good for us. We think that's our opportunity, and we really want to catch it. And a lot of people like me, and they have a great career in Wall Street. A lot of my friends they served more than 15 years over there, and they paid pretty well, and they can raise family over them. So that's why they have experience to build a good system product, but they have to give up too much. So that's why. So it's always slowly, and you will see that more and more sophisticated team converted into this new industry. It's always true for those kind of new industry. People will slowly move into that because there's risk for them, right? And for the young people, they may have enough experience to build such products. So I'm really happy I can form a team with my partners so quickly, and we hope everything works well eventually.
Yeah, I hope it works well too, because I like your drive and I like your ethics. And I'm somewhat proud that I found you and you're able to sponsor my podcast.
Yeah, we're always open for sponsorship.
Yeah, I hope so, because I have lots of ideas for future episodes and seasons of the podcast.
It's great. Tell us more. If you need me, I'm available anytime.
Okay. So I'm not sure if I have any more questions at this time. I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview, for sponsoring the podcast, for offering a service that doesn't do KYC, which is huge, and for also starting a contest which offers 2.1 BTC. And I hope that I will be able to find a solution someday. Let's hear a few words from the show's sponsors.
Phemex, 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 Phemex. Phemex, Phemex, Phemex.
Phemex is a Bitcoin exchange with derivative trading options, which focuses on speed, robustness, and maximum uptime. Built by former Morgan Stanley executives, it manages to bring simple and accessible Bitcoin trading. In 2020, Phemex will also add S&P 500 stocks, stock indexes, forex, commodities, and more. Sign up today at phemex.com/bonus and receive a bonus of up to $72. Please keep in mind that this is just an ad for a sponsor of the show. It's not meant to serve as financial advice. You're responsible to do your own research before buying anything and act according to your own decisions. Embrace your financial sovereignty with agency and precaution.